Hi everyone. Today I'll be looking at 5 tips for recognizing written intervals. Although directed towards the recognition of written intervals, some tips may be used to recognize sounding intervals also. Whether applied to written or sounding intervals, over time and with regular practice, these tips will become unnecessary as the vast majority of intervals will be instantly recognizable. Intervals should always be determined from the lower to the upper note. This applies even when the upper note precedes the lower. For example, here the D comes before the A, but the interval is still determined from the A to the D. The following chart is an excellent means of depicting visually how a semitone change in an interval's size will change its label. As you can see, a semitone increase of a major interval creates an augmented interval, while a decrease creates a minor interval. A semitone increase of a minor interval creates a major interval, while a decrease creates a diminished interval. And a semitone increase of a perfect interval creates an augmented interval, while a decrease creates a diminished interval. Applied to the major third between C and E, for example, this information shows that if we increase the size of the interval by a semitone, by raising the E to E sharp, the interval is now labelled an augmented third. This is true also if we increase the size by changing the C to a C flat. C flat to E is also an augmented third. Decreasing the size either by lowering the E to E flat or by raising the C to C sharp creates a minor third interval. The important point is that an increase in size, whether it's, as in this example, by raising the E by semitone to E sharp or by changing the C to C flat, creates an augmented third, and the decrease in size creates a minor third. The constant element in this example is whether raised or lowered, we are still always dealing with the notes C and E, a point which leads on to the next tip. Whenever you're determining an interval, always begin from its basic size. Determining the basic size of an interval is typically one of the first steps when intervals are being taught. For example, the basic size of this interval is some kind of second, as it includes 2 steps, while this is some kind of sixth, as it includes 6 steps. Remember to always count the first note as 1. Here, if the G was counted as 0 and not 1, our sixth would be incorrectly labelled as some kind of fifth. The basic size of an interval means that if we are dealing with, for example, a fifth between A and E, even if one or both of these notes are changed using accidentals, the interval's number will always remain the same. In this example, therefore, even with additional accidentals, the interval will still be some kind of fifth, only the type or quality of the fifth may change from perfect to augmented or perfect to diminished. This is true even when double sharps or flats are present. For example, here, although the F double sharp is enharmonically equivalent to G, the interval is some kind of third, as the 2 notes are a third apart. To label this interval as a perfect fourth from D to G would be incorrect, as the interval is written between the notes D and F, and the basic size of the interval is a third. Once the basic size is found, the interval's quality can be determined. To do this, we need to have memorized the information given in tip 2 and have learned the method outlined in the following tip. Although there are several methods used to determine the quality of an interval, here I will only be looking at one. This method is possibly one of the most common for learning the quality of intervals and requires a good knowledge of major scales. Once the interval's basic size is determined, the lower note is treated as the root note of a major scale. If the upper note is present in this major scale, the note will form either a major or perfect interval. In a major scale, unisons, fourths, fifths, and octaves are perfect, while the remaining intervals are major. In the following example, the upper note E is present in the G major scale. The interval therefore is a major sixth. Here, because the notes are part of the major scale, the basic size and the interval's quality are the same. In this example, the note D flat is not found in the E flat major scale. Because the D in E flat major is natural, inclusion of the flat has reduced the size of the basic seventh interval. Using the chart from our second tip, when a major interval is reduced by a semitone, it becomes a minor interval. The interval E flat to D flat, therefore, is a minor seventh. When presented in this way, this method may seem protracted. As I mentioned earlier, however, with regular practice, the different tips will become unnecessary, as familiarity with the notes will mean the vast majority of intervals will become instantly recognizable. For those intervals which are a little more challenging, however, the final tip offers further suggestions. Intervals where both notes contain accidentals are often more difficult to decipher. One way to simplify these intervals is to remove the accidentals from one or both notes. For example, here, removing the flat leaves a perfect fifth between the notes D and A. Because the addition of the flat increases the size of this perfect fifth, the interval D flat to A is an augmented fifth. In this interval also, removing either the flat or sharp leaves a major second. In both instances, therefore, the accidentals increase the size of the major second, thereby creating an augmented second. For intervals using double sharps or flats, the double accidentals can be reduced to single accidentals. For example, here, the G double flat could be treated as G flat. A flat to G flat is a minor seventh. Reducing the size of a minor interval by a semitone creates a diminished interval. A flat to G double flat, therefore, is a diminished seventh. I hope you found this useful. Thanks for watching. See you next time.